Hi, I'm Christina, and this is going to be my reading statistics for 2020. So my aim was to read 52 books in 2020, and I read exactly 52 books. So I am really, really pleased with that one. And then in terms of breakdown in other statistics, I'm going to start with genre. So I read 40% thrillers, which does not surprise me at all because it is the genre I am most drawn to, and I know that about myself, but I have to say on reflection it isn't always the genre that I enjoy the most. So I think going into 2021 I'm going to kind of steer a little bit away from thrillers. It's going to be difficult because it's the ones that I am, like I say, really, really drawn to, and it is my favourite genre, I would say. But thinking back on all the books I've enjoyed most this year, I'm not sure if it actually is my favourite genre anymore. So there's that. And then the second genre is 20% mystery. Again, it doesn't surprise me. I like mysteries, but again, thinking back on them, there's been quite a few disappointing mysteries that I've read this year. So something else to bear in mind, that maybe my favourite genres aren't my favourite genres anymore. And then I have 15% fantasy, I have 10% contemporary, 10% science fiction, and 5% horror. And yeah, that's something that I want to change in 2021. So when I was thinking back over all the books I really, really enjoyed this year, there's a couple that are popping out to me, and two of them are contemporary and two of them are science fiction. And I'm kind of still thinking about those books now. They really kind of left their mark on me. And yeah, I'm still thinking about them, still thinking about how wonderful they are. I'm thinking about my favourite books of 2020. They were both there. Those four books are kind of in my top 5, 6. And I'm still trying to narrow down my top books of 2020. So that is going to be a video that's coming soon. But like I say, there's 2 contemporaries and there's 2 science fiction in the running for top 5. So I'm definitely rethinking about what my favourite genres are. So yes, 2021, I want to read more contemporary and I want to read more science fiction. So if you have any recommendations for your favourite contemporaries and your favourite science fictions, do let me know down in the comments below, because yeah, genres I want to explore more this year. And then fantasy 15%, horror 5%. Probably won't be reading much more fantasy. I'm much more leaning towards the science fiction in terms of genres that I enjoy, but there's definitely quite a few fantasies that do kind of stick out to me, so I'll definitely give those a go if I fancy them. Horror 5%. I probably won't be reading too much more horror. A lot of it I don't find scary at all. I'm not really into kind of paranormal books, or there's a lot of horror I personally don't enjoy, but there has been the odd couple that have stood out, and like I say, if there's any more horrors that I fancy, I'll definitely give them a go. So in terms of year of publication, 40% of the books I read were published in 2019, which doesn't surprise me because I have been reading kind of more recently published books, and I was looking at the books that won the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2019 and kind of basing a lot of the books that I fancied reading off of that. And then 20% were from 2018, 10% were from 2017, and all of the rest of the percentage were published between 2006 and 2016, and there was a couple from 2020. So I'm mainly reading in the previous kind of 3 years of books published. I think there are a few classics I would like to get round to, but I'm probably going to be kidding myself saying I'm going to read many of them. There's 1984, I definitely want to read that, and there is The Idiot that I definitely want to read, and The Picture of Dorian Gray. So those are the kind of classics in my head that I'm thinking about reading. But looking back on my genres, I didn't read any classics last year at all. So, oh well. And also, looking back at the genres, just to go back a second, I didn't actually read any romance at all, which doesn't surprise me because I don't really like romance. It isn't a genre I'm drawn to. It's just not my cup of tea, really. And then historical fiction, says I haven't technically read any historical fiction, but I had a few books that kind of fell into historical fiction and then fantasy or maybe kind of contemporary, and I kind of popped them into contemporary because I felt the books read more that way than historical fiction. So one of them was The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield, and I popped that into contemporary rather than historical fiction. And then Where the Crawdads Sing, I think I popped that one into mystery just because it kind of felt more like that to me. But yeah, so that isn't a perfect percentage. There's definitely a few historical fictions in there, but it kind of made more sense for me to pop them into the other categories. And that is another kind of genre that I am interested in reading more of, because I really did enjoy a lot of those kind of crossover genre books. So yeah, more of those in 2020 would be good. And then in terms of author, it was 70% female and 30% male. And this actually surprised me, honestly. I wasn't really keeping any kind of log of like what authors I was reading. So to know that it's 70% female, it's quite skewed, isn't it? So maybe I should start reading some more male authors in 2021. I'm not 100% sure why that even happened, but there we are. In terms of audience, it is 75% adult and 25% YA, and I was actually surprised that I read 25% young adult. I thought I read like 90% adult, like pretty much all adult literature rather than YA. So yeah, that was actually quite like pleasantly surprising for me that I do actually have a quarter of my reading coming from young adult. So I was impressed with myself with that one actually. In terms of rating, so I feel a bit stingy when I look back at this. So my average rating is 3.4, which I think that's pretty solid, to be honest. I am very stingy with giving out 5 stars. It has to be really, really good. And I try not to give out like 1 stars, but there's been a few 2 stars kind of scattered through. But I'd say, well, I can tell you exactly. My most rated is 40%, 4%, which 4%, 40% 4-star books, which I actually think is really, really good to know that the vast majority of the books I've read this year, I've rated 4-star. I've really enjoyed them. So it sounds like a really, really successful kind of reading year overall, that I've been really enjoying the majority of the books that I read. And then the next biggest category is 30% 3-star, which again, I think is pretty normal, pretty solid book. If it's 3 stars, I enjoyed it. Obviously it didn't have that extra kind of magical element, not actual magic, you know, it wasn't magical for me to give it 4 or 5 stars. And then it goes 15% 2-star, 10% 5-star, and 5% 1-star. So yeah, lowest rating is 1 star. I don't have too many 1-star reads this year, which is good. And then 10% 5-star. So yeah, I've got some really good books to talk about in my best of books, and to know that 10% of the books I read in the year I absolutely loved and I gave them like the highest mark possible, 5-star, I think that's quite impressive. So I'm quite chuffed with that one. So in terms of pages overall, I read 20,911 pages, which, I mean, it sounds like a lot to me. And then in terms of the length of the books, the average book length was 402 pages. So I have been reading probably longer books this year rather than shorter books. And yeah, I'm pleased with that. 402 pages sounds like a pretty decent sized book to me. So the shortest book that I read this year was The Best of Friends by Lucinda Berry. And this one comes in at 281 pages. I actually didn't realise it was such a short book, but thinking back on it, that's probably why I read it so quickly. I really, really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars, and it's not actually going to make it to my top 5 books of 2020, only because there's another Lucinda Berry book that just feels that little bit more special to me. And it's quite ironic because when I first rated this one, I gave this one 5 stars, and then the other one I gave 4 stars. But thinking back on it as a whole, in terms of the year as a whole in the books that I've enjoyed most, the other one just stands out to me that little bit more because I'm still thinking about that story now. And I think when you're thinking about your favourite books and how you rate books, when you've just read it and then you give it a rating, sometimes a few months down the line, you kind of kind of forget the book even exists, and you kind of forget the plot even though you really enjoyed it. Whereas some books really have that staying power that even months later, maybe even years later, you know, you're still thinking about it, you're still thinking about the plot, you can still remember the characters' names. And that's what happened in terms of these ones. The other story is still with me, even though I didn't rate it quite as highly. So I think that's quite interesting. I don't know if other people feel like that, or if that's just me, and over time sometimes I'm like thinking, I can shift the ratings around a little bit. So the longest book I read this year was The Passage by Justin Cronin, which, yeah, it's pretty long, this one. It's 963 pages. And I read this right at the start of my booktube journey. So this was actually my first ever YouTube video, the book review to this one. And I really enjoyed it. Like I say, it's the start of a 3-part series, and I've actually only read this one. So in 2021, I think I'd like to finish the series. I just kind of wasn't in the mood for like a young adult horror anytime recently, but hopefully I will be in the mood for it sometime in 2021. So there's that one. So that's it for all of my stats in 2020. I have recently done a video of all the 52 books I read this year, so I'll pop that down below in case you're interested in seeing that one. And I'm going to be doing my top books of 2020 soon. I think I'm gonna keep it at 5. Which is going to be really difficult, because I was thinking originally top 10 books, and I was like, no, I want to be a little bit more exclusive. I want to kind of narrow it down and just really talk about the best of the best, like the creme de la creme. So it's been really difficult at the moment because I've kind of got it down to 6 and I'm kind of pushing it into 5, and I've been a little bit like that. So I think I might do, yeah, my top 5, and then just kind of mention the 6 and say this one too, because it's getting really difficult to really narrow it down. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please do like and please do subscribe if you'd like to see more of me talking about books. And I would love to if you would tell me your stats of 2020, like whatever you want to tell me, like however many books you read, or what was your absolute favourite book, or anything at all like that. I'd love to hear, and I'd love to chat to you down in the comments. If you have any recommendations for the genres I want to read more of, like contemporary and science fiction, let me know. Or if you have a really great thriller mystery that you think, even though I want to read less of them, I should definitely read, let me know. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!